Greetings and welcome back to the Shift Briefing Series. I'm David Pearson. In this video, I want to talk about the concept of a tactical pause, its three main steps, and the benefits that it has for you on a critical incident. Let's get started. If you've been a law enforcement officer for any period of time, you've had moments in your career where you've gone from that control mode into kind of crisis. You've been stressed. And then you're trying to get on the radio and things don't sound very good. So how do we help prevent that? Well, through the concept of a tactical pause. There are three steps that I want to talk about. First is breathe, then evaluate, and then communicate. When we start talking about breathe, if you've used force on somebody before, and I'll just talk about using force, there's other crisis moments, but sometimes we get tunnel visioned on that person that we've used force on. They're standing there or they're lying on the ground and we're kind of staring at them. That breath will help you break that tunnel vision that you have on that person. It'll help open things up and allow you to look around and see other things that are going on. If you remember our conversation about the OODA loop in the observe phase, it's important to see as many things accurately as we can. That helps us in the other aspects of the OODA loop. So it's important to break that tunnel vision by taking that breath. The other thing that a breath will help you do is to think more clearly. It'll help clear out those cobwebs and it'll be like, okay, now this is what I need to do. The third thing a breath will do for you is it'll move towards de-escalation of not only yourself, but also the situation, which is very important. You have to be in some level of control when you move into the next step, and that's the evaluation phase. I want you to evaluate after you've taken that deep breath. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to evaluate your position. Back to the OODA loop again. If you remember the conversation we had about orienting yourself to the threat, you want to make sure that you're using good cover and concealment. And using safety priorities is kind of an informative concept. Do you want to now move closer to the suspect? Do you want to stay where you're at, find a piece of cover and concealment, or do you want to create some distance? The safety priorities would help inform you that if there are innocents between you and the suspect, then you can't stay where you're at. You're going to have to get closer. If you're at a good position and there's no other innocent civilians around, well, are you behind good cover and concealment? Do you need to go find it? And lastly, do you need to create distance? If you're a little too close, do you need to back up? So using the safety priorities will help make that decision easy for you. The next thing I want you to do is to evaluate your use of force. Do you need to use more? Do you need to use less? Do you need to switch to something different? Do you need to target a different area of the body? All those things that you can evaluate very quickly when you're talking about your force. The next thing I want you to evaluate, this is the third thing in our evaluation phase, is to evaluate the cooperation and compliance of the suspect. We've used force on them and we're asking them to do things. Are they listening to us? Does it seem like they want to give up? Or do we have to use force? And when we start talking about this tactical pause piece, I want to stop real quick and say, look, if you're in the middle of a gunfight, finish the gunfight, right? Don't try to run through all these steps while you're trying to defend your life. Do those things that you have to do. Back to this compliance phase, we're looking for some level of compliance from the suspect. As my good friend and mentor, Dan Murphy, would say, look for compliance, not perfect compliance. In other words, if the person's laying down on the ground and they're pretty much in the kind of position you want them to do, don't have them move their arms another 2 or 3 degrees and put their palms up or whatever. If they're really trying to comply, then take advantage of that. Sometimes we try to get that perfect compliance and it ends up irritating the suspect and we kind of lose our window of compliance. This little bonus piece of the evaluation is I want you to evaluate yourself. Are you in control of yourself, or are you still in a little bit of crisis? If you're still in a little bit of crisis, I want you to take another deep breath. because I need you to be calm, clear, and confident as you move into the next phase. So the third step of our tactical pause, we did breathing, we did evaluation, and now we're going to do communication. If you're with a partner, the first thing that you want to do is probably communicate with your partner. Hey, are you okay? I'm okay. Why don't you cover him? I'll get on the radio. Make sure that you're using good contact team philosophy concepts when you're doing that. So once you've communicated with your partner, the next, communicate with dispatch. And you want to update dispatch with three kind of things. One is your location. Now they may know you're at a particular address, but you might be in the basement or in the backyard or in the front room. Updating them to that specific location will help them. If they don't know where you're at, making sure that you get out very clearly, confidently, and calmly your location can start to help your way. The next thing is you want to update them on your situation. I've been involved in a shooting. I've had shots fired. I used a sage on somebody. Update them on the circumstance and your status. And the third piece about that communication with dispatch is tell them what you need. Do you need additional officers? Do you need a supervisor to come by? Do you need ambulance to show up? Those are all important pieces when you're updating dispatch. The third person that I want you to communicate it with is the suspect. And the reason that I want you calm, clear, and confident is if you think about when you're talking on the radio or talking to a suspect, if you're yelling and screaming and you're out of control, then nobody knows really where you're at. But if you can get on the radio or talk to a suspect in a very calm, confident voice and tell them, look, I've already used force once. I don't want to have to use a force again. And if you're not going to cooperate, then force is likely to be used again. That suspect knows that you are in control. He knows or she knows that you're serious. And that's a very strong message to send just by being confident, clear, and calm. The next thing that I want you to do is, once you get those three steps of the tactical pause out of the way, I want you now to plan on what you want to do. You're likely to get additional radio communication from people coming in the area, or as officers show up, they're going to say, hey, what do you want to do? Well, have something in mind. So once you've got this fairly well static, now start thinking about, do I want the suspect to move further? Do I want to go up? Do we want to move to a different location? Do we have to disarm this person before the medics come on scene? Those are the kind of things that you can finish up once you've done the breathing, evaluation, and communication. If you'll notice, I'm starting to kind of intertwine some of the other concepts that we've been talking about in other videos. And that's the big part about the top 20 that I talk about is no one concept like de-escalation or anything else can be viewed in and of itself. It has to be viewed in a bigger picture with other concepts. By understanding those concepts and then kind of melding them together, it makes you smarter, safer, and more efficient. So with that in mind, hopefully you took some value out of this video. And until next time, please do that. Be smart, be safe, and be efficient. Take care.